Piedmont. This one quite a bit smaller than the previous one I did, which was Narbona. However, both are in the northern Italian region of Piedmont and both within the province of Cuneo. This one is Balma Boves. Balma Boves was only ever settled by a few dozen people at most, and it was settled from the 18th century up until around 1950. Some people assume that it must have been settled even as early as the 1700s. The location under the rock makes it quite unique, but also you can see it's a really good idea in terms of protection from the elements, and the location facing directly south gives them the most possible sunlight in winter. So while it makes it super unique and fascinating, it was also a really strategic decision back then, I'm sure. Balma Boves is also accredited for its attribution to small, self sufficient living in a community that was never connected by roads to any other villages or towns. The walk in is short from the main road, is surrounded by chestnut trees as you go down a mule track. The village has been left largely frozen in time under the rock. You can still stroll among the stone houses that people used to live in that are largely in pretty good tact still. You can still see the ancient bread oven, the dryer, the fountains, the stables, and the barns. And you can have a look into the small houses of the people who used to live there and see their furniture, exactly how they would have lived amongst them. You quickly appreciate how the small community lived. It was a hard life with very little comfort, long, hard winters with super cold conditions, still having to look after the livestock, no ability to get super close to your house with any sort of transport. The most you would have had were mules and on foot. But what you do see is they lived in harmony with nature, were self sufficient, and respected natural resources. These small communities, like Narbona, also are known for their resilience and are now sometimes referred to as chestnut civilizations. Villages capable of creating an economic system purely based on the consumption of what they have around them, what nature offers, which could sometimes just be wood, leaves, and chestnuts, and of course, the livestock farming. I was surprised coming to this part before Balma Boves to see that there was another village there. Maybe you wouldn't call it a village so much. Maybe there was only four houses from what I remember, and some were definitely more like stables or barns, but one was definitely inhabited. It might have just been on the weekends. But from this little village I stumbled across, Balma Boves was only about a 5-minute walk down from here. But let's just take in a moment to appreciate how beautiful this little remaining village is. Here you can quickly see the descent down to Balma Boves, but I think we're just going to hang out for a moment in this little village just to check it out, see what's here. Maybe in many ways it will be a bit more fascinating because it is still lived in, so we can kind of imagine, like, oh, what is this person using this for? But one thing I love about Italy is even in this tiny remote village, they still have the signs for where you can walk to. In summer, these become super helpful where people go on long tracks and you can see in every direction where you could end up if you walked and for how many hours it would take you to get there. So now let's check out what this village is used for. So far, it looks like mainly farming, whether it's preparing in the summer for the winter months. I would say the people that own these houses maybe live just down the mountain somewhere like Envie, I think it's called. Um, so that's what I would guess, especially because the majority of these houses don't look like they would have heating, and I would say they're mainly just used for storage and farming equipment, except for one on the left, which is definitely used to live in. I just don't think all the time. But yeah, let's have a look around. I can find a rusty old bike, which is probably more likely for decorations, and definitely a wealth of farming equipment. Someone evidently still has tea parties, and over here on the far end where I'm pointing, this is the house that has even been renovated like in modern times, so it's definitely a weekender. Here we go, the descent down the mule track into Balma Boves. You start to see big rock formations almost immediately, so it kind of gives an anticipation of what you're about to head into. I'm firstly blown away by the views. I thought it was going to be really like covered or protected by the trees and you wouldn't be able to see much. But this has a beautiful view of Mont Viso, which is the highest mountain in this area. And you can see it so clearly from the mule track, either behind you when you're going down or in front of you when you're going back up. So these people had good views. And on top of that, once you get down there, you'll realize the reason they built it where it was also largely because of just how much sun exposure they have. They have an incredible unobstructed view from where the houses are and where the whole village is really. Whoa, I just stumbled across this and I was thinking, is it already? It's been like 10 seconds down the mule track. But this is definitely a sign of what's to come. It's obviously the right landscape I'm looking for. But here is definitely a building. I don't know if it's the outskirts of the village, but I can't yet see the village. It must be just around the corner, I suppose. And that's it. It is right around the corner. I guess you can probably see now in the distance behind the bare trees. This is the remnants of the village. It started. That was quick. That was a very, very quick walk in. I would say not even 5 minutes. When you compare it to the last abandoned village I looked at, Narbona, which was easily a half an hour, probably more like 40-minute walk in. So I don't know. I might go out on a limb here and say I think it might have been a bit of a tougher life for the people of Narbona. Definitely less convenient. Okay, here we are inside the village. As you can see, yes, spectacular. Really, they meant it when they say it's built directly under the rock and into the rock. There's a beautiful little balcony here to catch the sun. It's almost winter now, so I'm really just noticing the sun, like the direction facing fully south. They get sun till at least 5 o'clock, which a lot of people in my village they lose the sun at 4, maybe even 3:30. So this is yeah, amazing position. That's why I keep going on about the sun because of the time of year. But it's small, it's tiny, it's even smaller than I expected, I would say. Narbona, I think, was like 3 or 4 times the size of this. So, yeah, when they say this village was built for a few dozen, I think it was probably built for 3 or 4 families, but the families were big, which made it a few dozen. here we have the stables. I would say this little house is the most interesting part of the village, maybe, other than the fact that the whole thing is under the rocks, because there is still so much equipment here intact, in beautiful condition. You can really imagine just how much time they spent here. And you can see into the window of the little house, which interestingly has no roof, it's hollow. I'm guessing that happened after they left. But yeah, this is definitely kind of like the most mysterious place you want to be, just looking at everything, thinking, oh, what did they do with One this? Thing I can't shake when I'm in these abandoned villages is just the feeling of, I can't believe how much stuff people left behind. Like, I get it. If you're going out on foot and you're poor, where are you going to store all this stuff? And if you're going to the city, it's largely of no use to you anymore. But I still just can't shake the feeling of, where did all these people go? Did they all just go to the nearest town or city? Or did they go far? Did they end up in another region even? I'm just always so curious to know, like, where did all these people go in the end? Oh, a cute idea is having the journal of visitors, so you can write a little something about yourself and when you came, what date it was, where you're from. Those are always exciting. Sometimes they even have them at the top of mountains. Now we can start to see how they sustain themselves. As you can see here in the sun are crops of what they used to grow that go on for a few levels as you go uphill. And honestly, this looks like a lot for such a small population. Like I said, I really don't think there could have been more than three or maybe four families living here, because there's just not that many houses. Um, so I suppose the families were probably big considering this was the 1950s. And yeah, it looks like they had quite a lot of space to grow for such a small population. And there we have it, guys. The unique village of Balma Boves, the village under the rock. It is largely known as. I think it's become quite popular also for people showing their kids. a self-sustaining small community lifestyle. It definitely gets a lot of visitors. It even has a museum, which I don't really get where it is, but maybe it means you can go inside the houses. Um, but nevertheless, it wasn't open at this time of filming. But yeah, here we go. Thanks for watching.